the border for years now. One of the things that we know is this, that women and children are being physically and sexually abused. We know that the cartels are running that border on the Mexico side. These cartels are so emboldened, they're now operating on U.S. soil. When you talk to local law enforcement, they will tell you where the cartel hubs are working from, where the drugs are coming from that are coming into their community. And moms and dads and brothers and sisters in our communities have all experienced the impact of fentanyl in our communities, the lives that have been lost, the families that have been wrecked because of the drugs that are coming across that southern border. We are doing everything we can to make certain that Title 42 stays in place. It is needed. Our Border Patrol need to know that members of the U.S. Senate are going to stand with them to make certain that they have what they need to, first of all, secure that border, and then secondly, to be sure that we mitigate the issues that are being caused at that southern border. And it is unseemly that we have a spending bill that would have money for other nations to secure their border. But then the money in the spending bill that is there for Border Patrol says they cannot use it on border security.
It is becoming harder and harder not to conclude that the border crisis is intentional. I mean, nobody is this incompetent, right? The Biden administration's position on Title 42, on the Remain in Mexico program, on efforts to come up with a definition of what refugee status means that looks like somebody designed it on purpose. None of the president's positions on this make any sense to me unless I view it from the perspective of, well, maybe he wants this to happen. Maybe he's listening too much to the berserk wing of his own party, the immigration activists who think that vetting people at the border is racist. I think the president has misread the American people, and he's better than that. He's certainly more intelligent than that. The American people support immigration. Every year, America welcomes about 1 million of our world's neighbors to become American citizens. That's more than any other country in the world. But the American people do not support illegal immigration. For one thing, when you ask an ordinary American, well, why don't you support illegal immigration? They look at you and say, well, because it's illegal. Duh. It's against the law. We thought what you folks in Washington were supposed to do is uphold the rule of law. But the second thing Americans will tell you is something to the effect of, look, here's how we view the southern border. We view the southern border like we view the front door of our home. We, most Americans say, lock our front door at home at night. We don't do that because we hate everybody on the outside. We do that because we love the people on the inside. And we'd like to know, as a practical matter and a matter of
travel trailers total that have had issues, 2 with water, 1 with heating. We've been there for each of those families, either getting called or doing checks. Each of them is safe. We're working on the maintenance on those travel trailers. But listen, this was our hope that, number one, the trailers would, or the majority of them would hold up. But number two, if there is any issue, that we are right there to assist. That water line is going to be a problem in homes all across Kentucky, much less travel trailers. But I'm pleased the plans we have in effect have identified those concerns. Remember, if you're in one of these travel trailers, look at the numbers that you have for help. If any issue arises, let's get you to the state park, which is there for you. And everybody else, remember that every county has set up a warming center or was supposed to set up a warming center. And of course, we have our state parks that serve as backups. So again, stay home, stay inside, stay off the roads, and that will keep you safe. I'm now going to turn it over to Director Slinker, who's here with Emergency Management, and then we'll have Secretary Gray on virtually.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Governor. I just want to ensure everyone that the State Emergency Operations Center was activated and functioning since yesterday at 2 p.m. and is very active as we speak, and will continue to stay active till many of the things mentioned and other things that are coming are solved and taken care of. So I'm just going to stick to a couple quick reminders that you've heard from me in the last couple of days about staying safe. We are in the storm now, so if you're using a generator, ensure that you're not using it inside. And I know I've said that a lot, but that's how important it is. If you're using a generator, or if you have power outage because of this storm and you're going to use a generator for power, do not use it indoors. That's dangerous and it can cause carbon monoxide poison. Remember that it is colorless and odorless. If you start feeling bad, get away from the source. Place the generators 10 to 15 feet away from your house and you should be safe. Keep in mind, if you're using those supplemental heating sources at this time, if you're using a portable heater, make sure you're reading the safety instructions and you're following those to ensure that you are not in danger of fire or carbon monoxide. Stay safe. That's our number one goal. As well, layer up if you go outside. As stated, it could be as short as 20 minutes for frostbite, but it's so extreme cold out there, you'll feel some discomfort and pain much before that, I can promise you. Keep your pets inside, take care of them, wrap them up if they go out, everyone wipe their paws off. Remember, hypothermia is the issue. If you're exposed and that comes into play and you're stranded on an interstate and help can't get to you, hypothermia can come on very quickly in times like these. So again, our number one goal is to keep everybody safe. Those that need help, we respond and send resources to help them. And we'll continue doing this until the temperatures and the roadways improve those conditions. And now I think I'm turning it to Secretary Gray with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. Thank you.
Thanks, Colonel Slinker, and thanks, Governor. I want to just punctuate a few things that have already been said, but I also want to add to what's been said. I want to thank and acknowledge the driving public first, because our crews overnight were able to do their work. And I got this report all across the state from our chief district engineers from west moving east, that they were very thankful that folks were listening to the guidance and the encouragement to stay off the roads. And we're going to ask that please continue with these same behaviors. Please continue to stay off the roads unless it is absolutely, as the governor has said, absolutely essential. Because as Colonel Slinker just said, we are still in this storm. We've still got potential for whiteout conditions. We've still got backups. We've had some crashes. We've had some jackknife semi-tractors. The governor went through that list, but we also have had some very good cooperation in doing all we can to get folks out of these situations. Now, I want to thank too and acknowledge our commercial wrecker services, because they are partnering just along with us, as is the National Guard, as is the Kentucky State Police. We do have these conditions that the governor has talked about, but I do want to say that just to emphasize that staying away from the roads today is still the best guidance. Staying off the roads today is still the best guidance. Now, if you need information, please visit, and James, if you'll put that back up one more time, please visit snowky.ky.gov. This provides opportunity for you to find current information. I want to say one more thing, and this is just guidance, because the governor mentioned that there was at least one vehicle that ran out of gas. So the guidance from us today continues to be, the encouragement continues to be to please have, to have a full tank of gas. If you're going to get on the road, have a full tank of gas. I want to say one other thing. If you run into a stoplight, if you run into a traffic light that's out, of course, many know this, but it bears repeating, treat it as a four-way stop. We are working on our primary, our interstates and our parkways. That's the first focus, and then secondary roads. Our crews are continuing to work vigorously all across the state. And I want to thank them for their all-night work. Many were up all night working the storm, and we appreciate that. Governor, back to you.
Great. We'll now open it up for questions. We had one submitted about churches reaching out about Christmas Eve services. We believe conditions will improve every day. It's going to get about 10 degrees warmer today and then the next day. So Saturday's conditions and road conditions should be much better than today, especially Saturday afternoon and going into the evening. Just remember, it will still be dangerously cold, especially for our seniors or housing insecure folks. So I would look at planning about how to get people as quickly as possible from their cars into the church for any services. But Saturday is going to be still very cold, but conditions out there will be much better than they are today, provided that we stay off the roads today so that we can let our transportation folks do their work. Tom Latek with Kentucky Today.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning to you. There used to be, the Transportation Cabinet used to operate a fleet of vehicles to help people that broke down or ran out of gas, minor repairs, flat tires, that type of thing. Are those vehicles still in service now and available for use?
Well, certainly we have the National Guard as well as the Kentucky State Police, and looking at other resources as well, whether that's Fish and Wildlife and others to help stranded motorists. But let me turn it back over to Jim if we still have him on the line for whether there's additional dedicated transportation personnel.
Well, we have our dedicated transportation personnel, and I don't know what actually, Tom, if you're talking about the safety teams, that was those teams were stood down a few years ago, and these conditions really were not what those teams were originally set up for. So I would say that what we have today is very adequate work going on across the state. When I say adequate, what I'm saying is that we're doubling down all across the state on these activities to remove the snow and the ice, continuing to treat.
And I just add, we've got transportation focused on making the roads safe. We've got the National Guard, the Kentucky State Police, local first responders out there in heavy vehicles, which can help people and get them to their location. That's why we pre-position those assets. Christiana Ford, WLEX.
Hi, Governor. You spoke a little bit about last minute shoppers. A lot of people probably trying to head out to the malls today, but whiteout conditions were mentioned. Can you talk about how the weather will potentially impact people like that?
We're asking Kentuckians not to get out today. Don't go and do last minute shopping. It's just too dangerous. The snow that's out there can, with gusts of 30 to 40 or 40 to 50 miles an hour, create a blizzard-like condition just instantaneously in different places. It can look like it's safe to you and then suddenly be very treacherous. Christmas is about more than those presents. In many ways, it's about life and new life. Let's try to live out those faith and values and the true meaning of the season. And so tell your loved ones that we want them to stay home and inside today and safe. I care a lot more that my relatives are with me the next couple years than just on one day. And I'm living out my own advice. You know, my brother and his family were coming in for Christmas, and they're not going to be able to make it now because it's just not safe based on their travel plans. Listen, I love them. I'm glad that they are home and that they are safe. Justin Hicks, Louisville Public Media.
Hey, Governor. One thing I didn't quite catch, the 3 travel trailers that had some problems, were those in Eastern Kentucky or were those tornado victims or a little bit of both?
So one is in the west, and that had a water issue. Or is that the heating issue? Okay, one is in the west, and that had a heating issue. And the other 2 are in the east, though in different parks. And they each had water issues. You know, again, water issues are going to be common everywhere throughout this. The fact that we only have one travel trailer with a heating issue is a really good sign. But we're going to continue to check on those folks. They've been through too much already. They're going to hear from us too much. They're going to have too many knocks on their door. They're going to see far too many of our park rangers checking on them and making sure they're okay. Okay, back to Christiana.
Hi, Governor. Right now, I'm on 64 traveling to Frankfort from Lexington, and we are seeing a major backup. Can you speak a little bit about what's happening on 64 right now?
Yes, that is a very new accident that is blocking both directions of I-64. There are multiple collisions around the I-69 marker in Scott County. So this is, I just received this as I was coming up to the podium. We'll get more information out there. But unless you're doing your important job like Christiana is, please stay off the interstates. Those are the places that we are seeing the most accidents, but they're also the places that can create the most danger for other motorists that are out there. So Christiana, stay safe. Make sure to call if you guys need any emergency assistance. We're going to make sure that folks are in the area providing that. Now, I'm sure that in her vehicle, they have that emergency kit, but another good reason to make sure you have the blankets and the water, the snacks, the batteries, the phone charger, and everything else you need. I'll close by saying it's been a long 12 months with the weather that's come at us. We lost 81 in the tornadoes, 44 in floods, 2 thus far in this Arctic front. Let's not lose one more. Take care of each other. Call people that you know today. Make sure they're okay. Look out the windows. Make sure your neighbors have power. Check in, especially on our seniors. Let's be the good people that we are as we push through, one more weather challenge that we're facing. Stay inside, stay off the roads, stay safe, and you'll stay alive. Thank you.
I'm going to the Daily News party. Oh, man. Thank you. Good to be here with an amazing team, and I'm going to turn over to my Deputy Mayor of Public Safety so he could introduce our team behind us.
Good afternoon and welcome to City Hall. Just like to thank everybody for coming, Fabian. And I'd like to introduce everybody here who's played a very instrumental role, an important role in pushing forward the administration's public safety agenda. We have First Deputy Mayor Lorraine Grillo. We have Ingrid Lewis-Martin, who's the Chief Advisor to the Mayor. We have Sheena Wright, Deputy Mayor for Strategic Initiatives. Keyshawn Sewell, NYPD Police Commissioner. Laura Kavanaugh, FDNY Commissioner. Louis Molina, Commissioner of the Department of Corrections. We also have Keith Howard, our Commissioner of the Department of Youth and Community Development. Christina Farrell, who's the Deputy Commissioner for New York City Emergency Management. Anthony Miranda, the Sheriff of the City of New York. Margaret Forjoyne, the First Deputy Commissioner of DOT. We have our judge, Sylvia Hines-Radix, who's the Corporation Counsel. Brendan McGuire, the Chief Counsel to the Mayor of the City of New York. We have Deanna Logan, the Director of MOC-J. We have Ahmad Jamo, Advisor to the Mayor. And A.T. Mitchell, Co-Chair of the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force. We want to acknowledge and welcome there. Now I'll turn it over to the 110th Mayor of the City of New York, Eric Adams.
Thank you, Phil. You know, as you went through the names, and I think a lot of people, they may see the vegan sausage, but they don't know what goes into to make it. The team behind me on each issue that we have faced in this city, we have really come together as a team. And I am extremely impressed. It's one thing to put a theory out there, but it's another thing to watch it materialize and actualize. I started in January with the team and really made it clear to Deputy Mayor Lorraine Grillo that we have to remove the walls that I felt were preventing us from actually executing as a team. And there were so many of our law enforcement partners who were sitting on the sideline, and they wanted to get in the game. You think about what Anthony Miranda has done with the Sheriff Department. It's just unique as he's dealing with so many different issues, from illegal plates to the cannabis situation, coordinating with the New York City Police Department, the DOT, and so many others. That is the teamwork, and that is going to be the trademark of this administration. And I want to talk about public safety today. And I want to talk about all New Yorkers. This was something that was dear to me when I campaigned. We wanted to specifically address the violence that we were seeing in our city, and really the demoralizing feeling that our police officers were experiencing. And it was one of the dualities of what I needed Commissioner Sewell to tackle. Number one, she has to bring up the morale of those officers who felt that we placed them on the front line and we left them there. And I think she has done an amazing job of sending the right message that we are going to be there for those officers who are placing themselves in the line of danger, but we're going to hold them accountable at the same time. If anyone tarnishes the nobility of public protection, they cannot serve in our department. We've made that clear, and I think you're seeing that manifest itself. And that was a signal today. As you know, we had an officer who was shot while taking appropriate police action. He and his partners were there to take care of what it may have seemed to many New Yorkers as a minor infraction. But this person was carrying a gun, discharged that weapon. A bullet struck one of our officers, and we were able to apprehend him without our fellow New Yorkers being injured. Thank God he appears to be making a full recovery. The assailant is in custody, and he and his family will be able to enjoy each other during this holiday season, as well as the other officers involved. Public safety is the foundation of the city. I've used this term over and over again. It's the prerequisite to prosperity. Without it, we won't feel the safety we deserve. And I'm talking to New Yorkers every day when I'm on the subway system, walking the street, interacting with them in churches, in houses of worship, in synagogues. That's the number one thing on their minds. They want to be safe, and they deserve to be safe. They want to not only look at the stats that show our improvement, they want to feel safe. And that is crucial to combat what they felt for far too long in this city. They have been feeling that the city has been broken. There's a sense of lawlessness. There's a sense of uncertainty. There's a sense of disorder that we inherited when we came into this administration. Gun violence was tearing apart our communities. Not only were the bullets ripping apart the bodies of the individuals that were the intended and unintended target, but it was ripping apart the emotional anatomy of this entire city, because communities were devastated by the violence that we were seeing. And we know that, and we are aware of that. It has been almost a year since I've been the mayor of the city with this team behind me. And my top priority will always be improving the safety of the city. Everything else will be built on that safety. One of the first steps I did as mayor was appoint a deputy mayor of public safety with Phil Banks. Phil Banks being a former chief of the department, understand the intricacies of law enforcement, and understood how important it was to coordinate all of our law enforcement entities that stand behind me and the men and women who are part of that, so we can all be on the same team, the team public safety. He had the efforts, and he understood that coordination, and he knew he had to build bridges to bring all our stakeholders together, and we're seeing the results of those bridges that were built. And most importantly, he knew that when it came down to public safety, we had to get stuff done, and we had to get it done correctly, because we were not going to trade off justice for public safety, not going backwards. We have much to do. We're clear on that. There's many difficult roads ahead to ensure all New Yorkers are safe, but I'm proud of what we have done. At the top of my appointment here, my election, I should say, was to deal with some of these big issues. And Commissioner Sewell and some of the other commissioners that are behind us, with their coordination, we went at it. And I think that New Yorkers should feel better about the direction that we are headed in this city around public safety. And the hard work of the NYPD and other agencies have been focused on making the city safe. Some of the numbers are reflecting that. As you know, we talk about it often. Murders are down double digits. Shootings are down double digits. You look at, in the month of November, for the first time in over 16 months, major crimes have gone down during the month of November. So it's about trending in the right direction. Anyone who studied crimes, they know it's about how do we continue to trend in the right direction. We knew that the change wouldn't happen overnight, particularly much of what we did when you look at the number of apprehensions we have made, how many repeated offenders are back on our streets. The catch, release, repeat system of our criminal justice system and the bottleneck of that system has really hampered our efforts, but we pushed ahead in spite of that. New York remains, and people sometimes forget this, but I really want to highlight this. New York remains the safest big city in America. We have to be clear on that. We are still the safest big city in America, and in 2023, we're going to push this city to be safer. And so let's look at the numbers so far. Since January of this year, New York City has seen a more than 17% drop in shootings, over 12% drops in homicides, and a 27-year high for gun arrests. Very important. It was what we want to focus on with our anti-gun unit, and with the combination of our patrol forces and the anti-gun unit, we're seeing a 27-year high for gun arrests. The NYPD has seized nearly 7,000 firearms off our streets. And the other area of focus that we stated at the beginning of the year clearly were the ghost guns. This includes, out of that 7,430 ghost guns, a 73% increase from the prior year and the highest number in city history. Our cops are working. Detectives are clearing homicides cases at a near historic level, and our clearance rate for the 7 major felony category is the highest in 20 years. It's a 20-year high. Our cops are working. Subway safety has also improved. We started out in the beginning of the year with our subway safety plan, and we did several evolutions because we want to continue to get it right. With a 13% reduction in major crime in transit station during the month of November compared to the same period last year. And this is even with a substantial increase in ridership. We reached a high level mark, 3.9 million, the highest since the COVID crisis began. So public safety is also traffic safety in our mind. We are focusing on traffic safety because there's no condolences that can come to a family, or they don't feel any better if their loved one is killed by a steel bullet or a vehicle made out of a steel car. So whether we're walking down the street or crossing it, that is why we ramped up traffic enforcement across the board, seized illegal dirt bikes and ATVs, and we crushed them so they would not be used again. That was one of the #1 complaints I heard in the city, the ATVs and illegal bikes that really, they were taking over our city. And we continue to go after the ghost cars. The police commissioner in her analysis realized that many of these ghost cars were being used to commit crimes such as robberies and other crimes in our city. We zeroed in on them, and we have removed thousands off the street. The drivers who use paper or illegal license plates, or those who intentionally obscure or deface their plates to commit crimes and avoid accountability. This was part of the feeder, the many rivers that were feeding the sea of violence. These ghost cars and paper plates and illegal cars were being ignored far too long. We took a proactive approach and went after them. In 2022, the NYPD continued a high level of enforcement with 12,000 total summonses, and they seized over 5,500 vehicles with ghost plates. It's a significant number of these illegal vehicles on the road. This is the highest number ever recorded in this city since we began tracking these stats. And thanks to our partners in Albany, we were able to begin what we fought for. One of our Albany agendas always surprises me how people said we didn't get any victories in Albany. We walked away with just about everything we asked for in Albany, and one of the most significant points was the 24/7 speed camera operation, leading to a dramatic 25% decrease in speeding in camera zones. Pedestrian fatalities also are down 8%. And let me pause for a moment. Y'all looking over there, so the police in me is asking, is something going on over there? Okay, all right. You know, I'm still Popo. Thanks to our partners in Albany, we were able to begin our 24/7 speed camera operation, leading to a dramatic 25% decrease in speeding in camera zone. And we're seeing results. Pedestrian fatalities are down 8%, and overall traffic deaths are down 8%. But, you know, Vision Zero is that, Vision Zero. We have more to do, and we're going to do that. In the coming year, we will work with our partners in Albany to advance new legislation that will hold drivers accountable for their dangerous behaviors. We're seeing too many people speeding, and we're seeing too much reckless driving on our highways. And we're going to we want to add new legal penalties for reckless driving that ends someone's life. And we want to get drivers with a history of dangerous driving off our road. They have become repeated offenders and abusers. We want to zero in on them, and that's how we get to the zero fatalities that we are looking for. We're also taking action to improve conditions at the Department of Correction. I cannot thank Commissioner Molina enough for what he's doing there. And I don't know if we keep the stats on it, but I probably visited Rikers in my first year more than any mayor of the history of this department, of all mayoral administrations. I've been on Rikers, speaking with inmates, speaking with staff, walking through Rikers Island to make sure we can get the results we're looking for. And I cannot be more proud of what Commissioner Molina is doing. And we're also doing our job, investing millions in upgrading facilities to ensure better working conditions for the men and women who serve there, and more humane conditions for the persons who are in custody. And we're taking steps to reduce assaults on staff and end violence on prisoner or inmate on inmates violence, something that people often forget. 80% of the people who are assaulted on Rikers Island are other inmates. So as we advocate for inmates that are committing crime, let's not forget those who are there committing crimes on, and we're looking at that. Commissioner Molina has increased searches for weapons and drug contraband, resulting in over 5,000 weapons and over 1,300 items of drug contraband this year, and we're going to be rolling out more initiatives to even clamp down more on drugs on Rikers Island. We're also addressing staff shortages. Remember the staff shortage issue, you know? I don't know how many articles you wrote on that. You know, you haven't wrote one yet showing how good Commissioner Molina has done. So hopefully this year you'll turn over a new leaf, because Santa knows who's naughty and who's nice. Due to Commissioner Molina's action, absentee have been reduced by 65%. 65% reduction. With all of these numbers reflect just the beginning of what the turnaround needs to be in Rikers. Decades of ignoring Rikers Island, not bold enough to give the support to the boldest to do their job. But as I say over and over again, there are many rivers that feed the sea of violence, and we need to look upstream to dam those rivers, and that's what we're doing. Not just about intervention, what we do every day, but what are we doing with prevention? We must continue to address the prevention safety, as A.T. Mitchell would say, just as we do precision policing, we need to do precision resources. And that's what we have done with this administration, including connecting those at risk of gun violence with job training, placement through organizations like Block Power. We must continue to build out everything from education to summer employment. Close to 100,000 summer youth were employed this year, never be done before in history. doing what we've done on Fair Futures, what we're doing about investing in education with our young people in foster care, young people at risk must have a chance to get on the right path, and that's what we're going to continue to do. This is a fundamental aspect of our public safety. And so just to round up, while 22 so many gains as public safety, there are areas where things have not improved as much as we wanted, such as the number of hate crimes in this city. And there are many rivers, again, that feeds the hate crime, particularly anti-Semitism, attacks on our LGBTQ plus brothers and sisters, our Muslim community, our PI community, and all of our communities are experiencing this hate that has become pervasive across our entire nation. And while there are upward trends throughout the nation, we're saying in New York, hate is not going to live here. And in 2023, we'll have a comprehensive approach, building on our Building Bridges initiative and dinners around the city, building bonds through dinners, of having people interact with each other, our public education system with Chancellor Bank, and making sure we mobilize our city agencies to fight hate crime. And we're not going to try to cover up those actions by not reporting them correctly. I thank the commissioner for placing new leadership over at the hate crime unit to send the right message of what our focus would be. And so as a man, a former police officer, I know how devastating hate crimes could be. And a number that was brought to my attention today, one of our numbers that's significant, one person has committed 35 hate crimes. We have to stop the plea bargaining of those who commit hate crimes. That's the message we need to send. And so going forward in 2023, we will build out what is working and continue to innovate. That includes next phase of our neighborhood safety teams. These officers are doing an excellent job because of their ability to operate stealth-like. We saw what happened with the arrest of the burglar with Robin De Niro's home. Look at the record of the person who was arrested. Anytime people say, why am I talking about recidivism? Look at the record of the person who was burglarizing the home of Robert De Niro while he was home with his family. Look at her record. This is what we are talking about. We want also, I want to thank the police commissioner and her CompStat community forums. It's something that she is putting in place. This is going to identify collaborative solutions to keep our communities safe. It's a smart idea, and it engages our community. And so you're going to hear more about what we're doing during our State of the City address next month. And we're going to continue to engage New Yorkers at every level on the issue of public safety. We believe it's important. And over the past year, we have seen an unprecedented level of coordination and community input. You see it on our monthly meetings with our 5 district attorneys, the summits we've had on public safety, how we brought in elected officials, community and faith leaders together with local, state, and federal law enforcement. These summits have gone well, and we want to continue to do them. Our round tables are allowing people to have a seat and a voice at the table. And so my message today is to every worker, every employee, every person that uses our subway system, to every correction officer working a double shift to support his or her family. I'm saying I hear you. To the first responders putting their lives on the line, I hear you. To the families of those lost to gun violence that I met with last week, I hear you. The victims who seek justice, I hear you. The lawyers and judges who work so hard to deliver justice, I hear you. And to the young person in need of a second chance, a new life, I hear you, because I was you. And that is why, as the mayor, I'm saying to you, I see all of you. And this team behind me is committed to make 2023 an important year. You heard me say it before. I believe strongly this is my Aaron Judge year. And so I'm going to do everything possible to continue to bring home the victories for New York City. We're open to any questions at this time.
Before we go to questions, we just want to acknowledge the incoming Chief of Staff, Camille Griner.
Mayor, what's your reaction to the first cannabis dispensary opening up? And do you think the first legal one, in and of itself, will reduce the illegal ones that continue to operate?
Well, first of all, the first one that's open, I think, is the joint. We are, thank you very much. Emotional intelligence. Remember we started out with that? You know that? You're such a kind and generous person. Oh, DJ, thank you, DJ. We think that's the perfect balance. A lot of people don't realize the illegal smoke shops are drivers of crime also. We've had a series of people who have been targeting these illegal smoke shops that are sprouting up all over our city, and we think the legal cannabis industry is going to balance out the illegal, and then our coordination, we're going to zero in on them to make sure they don't sprout up all over the city.
I was hoping to hear from Commissioner Sewell about, I know she hasn't spoken yet, and this is such a pivotal press conference about crime, about what your plans are for the future of the NYPD in the next year, about what you would like to see the department do, and I don't know what kind of work you will be doing moving forward, especially with the expansion of the neighborhood safety team.
We turn over to the commissioner, but let's be clear that what we have done historically that was wrong, when we thought of public safety, we only thought of the NYPD. And we place everything on the NYPD. A cat up the tree, call the cops. I'm going through a divorce, call the cops. That's all we did was call the cops, call the cops, call the cops. That's why we brought on board a person that is going to tell every other law enforcement entity in the city, you're all part of the game, so that we can allow the commissioner to do the focus that she's doing. But this is a team effort. Everyone that's behind me is part of team public safety, Commissioner.
Sure. So thank you for that question. So when we began last year, the mayor made it clear that our initial focus was public safety. And we tackled that head on. We realized we had to deal with the crime that was happening in our streets and the fear in our communities, and we set forward to put a plan in place. The trends that we're seeing are not happenstance. They're a result of deployment strategy and the fine work of the women and men of the NYPD. We expect those trends to continue, but there's a lot more work to do in the NYPD. We're not spiking any balls here. We recognize that there's some work we want to do inside the NYPD, some strategies we want to implement, some restructuring of the police department as well. We want to continue to reach out to our communities, and as the mayor stated, this is a holistic approach to public safety. We work in conjunction with our partners in government and our community partners as well. So as we all know, we've lost some talent in the NYPD, but there's a tremendous amount of talent as well in the NYPD. So we're going to continue to increase our recruitment efforts and make the NYPD bigger and better.
Is there anything more you can say about restructuring of the NYPD? That can be sometimes a little worried about what.
Certainly. We've talked about this a number of times over the course of the year, and the results of our review for civilianization and being able to identify efficiencies within the police department and eliminate redundancies.
Mayor or police commissioner, can you elaborate on what phase 2 of the neighborhood safety teams looks like?
The phase 2.
You're going to be rolling out phase 2 of the neighborhood safety teams?
Yes, we're going to do it in our state of the city. The state of the city, we're going to roll it out.
And then secondly, what progress have you made on the change for involuntary hospitalization of homeless folks? Can you elaborate on where that's at?
Yeah, and you know, I'm going to do this every time someone asks me that question. I think you guys and ladies falsely reported our story and gave the impression to New Yorkers that whoever's dealing with a mental health illness, they're going to be rounded up and placed in a mental institution. That is not what we said. We were very clear. The small body of people who have reached a point that they cannot take care of their basic needs and they are in danger to themselves. That's a small pocket of people. And we're going to get it right. The first phase is to make sure we train all the personnel of giving them clarity. We want to give them clarity, but we didn't start doing that. The neighborhood, the police department, our outreach workers, they were all doing this already. But while we were out there, because this is an on-the-ground team, we noticed that there was a lack of clarity. We cleared up that lack of clarity. And right now, we are still out there doing that job every day, but we are going to make sure that people have the clarity to zero in, like the ones I saw in the subway system the other day, on those who we should be engaging more. And if they are in danger to themselves, they should receive the assistance that they need. And we're finishing up the training. We want to make sure people are well trained, any questions that they have, so we can execute this correctly.
When's the training end?
We'll let you know when it is.
Mayor, hi. I know you and Commissioner Molina have expressed some concerns this week or recently about related to the plan to close it. Do you think, closing it is a good idea to start with? And is there a mechanism in place to keep it open? My understanding was that it was sort of done in a way that it couldn't be undone. So is there a mechanism to keep it open if the population doesn't go down sufficiently?
Well, I think what Commissioner Molina stated, which I really commend him on, because oftentimes people are trying to be politically correct instead of just saying the honest truth. The numbers now are too high. The criminal justice system is too bottlenecked.